Hello, everybody. This was a great episode where we got into some real nitty-gritty conversation. Our discussion went from Destiny to social media culture to politics and back to video games. Our guest is a family man, brilliant content creator, and all-around rock star. It's DadGotGame. Welcome to the BxPerience.
We tweeted just yesterday that we were feeling pretty burnt out on Destiny, and because Destiny is something that we're so prominent in, it bleeds into content creation because that's our jam, that's what we do. So now we have to try to find something else to fill that time, and we knew this was going to happen, just like we were just talking about. So months ago we planned the league and we tried to do these private matches on Fridays and find content that we knew could kind of fill in the gap and keep us playing Destiny even when there wasn't stuff in the game.
Sure.
So we did try to plan ahead and deal with it, but
I think
I don't know.
My theory is that was a double-edged sword because that way we didn't notice the burnout creeping up because each week we had Fridays, we had our Fight Club Fridays, super fun. Those have been the most fun in Destiny we've had in a long time. And then on Wednesdays we would shoutcast Destiny, and that was super fun. So the Destiny space in and around that was just kind of there, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh wait, we actually don't want to play this game right now.
Yeah.
Well, I hit that point. I hit that point where you start doing the pinnacle gear every week, right? And you get your pinnacle gear done, and then you're like,
now what?
What now? What? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We haven't even done pinnacle gear.
I've never been a PvP player either, so I burnt out. I burnt out faster than most. And I had to switch. Not switch, but I had to start putting a focus back on, because I also was wondering, and I got this feedback from my mods too. My mods give me regular feedback, and they're like, dude, you're playing too much Destiny. You've built this channel on variety.
Yes.
You need to weave that back in because it's been nothing but Destiny. So the community started getting burnt out on Destiny as well.
Yep.
And so I kind of, that's why I started to scoot away and just fill with Destiny. I haven't even Fractaline farmed yet.
No, we haven't either. Don't feel bad.
I just donated everything. My resonance rank is low, whatever. I just donated everything just because I was like, well, maybe we'll get it quicker with my 50,000 donated.
50,000 or whatever.
A little drop in the pond, whatever. A little bit helps.
100,000 Fractaline a day.
Oh,
it's what?
I saw Ash Parth. I saw his tweet the other day or today that his resonance rank is 10,000.
Well, he was in our stream a little while ago, and I'm pretty sure he said his power was over 1,000.
So it's 10,000 now. So that's every week. That's 10 million just from him.
Well, good. Now I don't feel bad because he's with my half too.
You're right. He's doing your half. He's doing your half, and my half. All of it.
A lot of hats.
Thank you,
Yes,
Ash.
Appreciate it. Yeah, shut up.
What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something about the PvP. We do comp help, right? And we would do comp help about twice a week, and it almost didn't feel like enough at first. There were so many people that were looking for help, and we were having a blast doing it. And then all of a sudden, it was just boom, same people every few games. Only matched 2.0 plus KDs over and over and over, every single game.
The other day we were this had gone on for a week or two already, and I was like, okay, you know what, let's get into it. We can start during the day, it won't be as bad. It's a Saturday. Our first match, we matched Grenadier Jake and Fancy's number 2 on the leaderboards for comp, and we're like,
what?
Sweet, okay, cool.
Well, Jake is disgusting too.
And then after that we matched people from JQV, which Riog is in our league. It's a very good clan. Yep. And then we matched someone from Sly's clan.
He's in our league as well. Good clan.
And then someone from another clan that we've heard of. And then we got
Jake again.
And then we got Jake later again that day with Fancy again. It was ridiculous.
I mean, I went from feeling like, you know, a little above average. Like, we'll never say that we are amazing Destiny players. There are hundreds of people that are way better than us. But we do all right. We carry our weight and in a little bit. And we went from feeling like we're having a lot of fun and feeling fairly confident to like, why are we even playing this game? That's what it felt like. It was very demoralizing.
Well, that combined with the meta being so stale and proliferated with all the additional cheesy stuff. Like, Destiny has always had cheesy stuff, but the more content they put in, there's more and more different. You got your Jotuns, you've got your bows, you've got your Aaron Tills, you've got
Lord of Wolves,
you got your skip grenades with Shinobus, you got
you
got all the stuff, man. So it was ridiculous. That day was not.
I think that's kind of where we just finally like hit the wall.
Mm-hmm.
The next day we were like, what are we gonna do in this game? Like, we don't want to do any of the PvE stuff.
Yeah,
PvP's been our jam, and like now we don't even want to do that. So
right.
And historically, Destiny has always been less drive for the people that also enjoy PvP because there's a little more replayability there. But when that gets stale, then what? Then you really got nothing. So
I hope. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you can finish your thought.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I hope that we hit this thing early. And Trials drops early, and or whatever Trials like activity is coming. Hopefully, I just keep saying hopefully because if it doesn't come, I think we're in trouble.
Oh no, agreed. I think they need something to add to the because the content lulls are going to happen. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what game it is.
Yep.
There's always going to be content lulls, and if the PvP experience, that's always been what's carried Destiny from content drop to content drop, has been the PvP experience, and when that's bad, like, and that's been my biggest thing from the get, is that when I first started streaming, I watched a lot of Destiny streamers. I watched their channels decline when the content went away, or when the content droughts happened, and even the PvP guys, if you weren't doing comp help, if you weren't doing trials carries, if you weren't doing those things, you ended up with just everything dropped and everything. Like, I knew that I wanted to make sure that I minimized the cycles in my content as much as possible. And the only way that I could think of myself to do that was to make sure that I was never investing too much time into one game.
Yep,
and that I was bouncing back and forth, building that community between all of that.
100%.
I think if there's one thing that Trials did teach a lot of content creators, is that fact right there. Because there's that one of our favorite streamers that we first watched on Twitch, he did Trials help, and then Trials disappeared for 2 months. It was gone, and his stream was gone because there was just nothing there. And I think that taught a lot of people that lesson of like, hey, you can't be pigeonholed into one thing, or you're just going to go down with the ship when it goes down, right?
So one of the toughest things for us specifically, because there's two of us, is, for example, you'll be like, oh, like the Star Wars game just came out, like I want to play that, and you just pick it up and play it. But there aren't as many options for co-op games, so that's one of the reasons that we've been so drawn to Destiny, is because it's a game we both love and something that we both enjoy doing together, and it's been that way for years. And we tried Anthem. We all know where that went.
I hope that
we tried rebuild, Division.
I hope that rebuild actually comes back.
I hope so too.
Like, I love that. I put hundreds of hours into the game, even after the directory died. I was still in it. I was like, it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. It's not coming back, guys. It's not coming back. So
I wanted it to be good.
Like, mechanically, the game feels good. Like, the flying feels so good. It's the best flying experience that I've had. And I've played a bit of flying. You know, Warframe flying is atrocious.
Yeah.
That's the closest thing that I can get to what Anthem is, and Anthem is miles better.
Yeah.
I love the ability combat is great. The gunplay sucks. It's not about the gunplay.
Yeah.
It's not.
The world is gorgeous.
Mhm.
Like it's so it's like the skyboxes are Destiny-esque, and I love it. But there's just no replayability, and
Yes.
there's enough that's broken with the game to make it like I would grind hours and get one legendary if I was lucky. I did 3 8-hour streams of Anthem, and I got one legendary out of 3 streams. And at that point, I was missing 3 legendaries. I think I said, "I'm done."
Yeah.
It's that like I have gotten to the point where I put in 24 hours of gameplay. You guys watched every second of it and literally made no progress.
Yep.
In any way, shape, or form. And at that point, I
that's
said,
no good.
until the core gameplay loop is fixed, I can't invest any more time in the game. It's not.
Yep.
I can't.
And I think like I followed the subreddit for Anthem, so I get things here and there. And from what I can see, they did fix the loot pool stuff, but it's just so far gone now. There's no attention on it. Like they still need more content. Like I'm still seeing clips of them killing the same boss from the friggin' beta.
The same thing happened when D2 dropped. I mean, like it literally fell off the face of the earth, and everybody was like, "Yo, I'm not like whatever, I'm done."
And then Forsaken,
right? Yeah. But look how long it was until Forsaken. We came back for every expansion.
I played for 3 weeks, and then I said, "No,
done."
I don't know what to do.
But because again, I'm not, and that's where the PvP normally would help, right?
Yeah. Well, normally the PvP at that point didn't help because it was so terrible.
Right. No,
so
agreed. Agreed.
100%.
But we tried Division, which just not. That's
not for me.
Yeah, it was just not for us. Borderlands 3, we had a lot of hope for. We actually played a decent amount of it, but I don't know. I feel like Borderlands is one of those games that I kind of just enjoy, like grinding off stream. Like it's just not a stream game for me. Like I don't know. Right. I don't have many of those, but Borderlands is apparently one of them. But we are looking forward to Outriders.
Outriders.
Yeah.
That looks cool. I think there was a stream today, actually.
Yeah, there's some sort of thing.
There was a live stream of gameplay and stuff today. That's how I got the information
that I was reading, because I actually played like 2 hours of it.
Yeah, so it looks really cool.
Good. So does Bleeding Edge, actually.
Bleeding Edge looks pretty neat as well.
Outriders is the...
People Can Fly is the studio.
Okay.
And they're like,
well, that's the one that Nelstar's talking about, right?
Yeah. Because it's from Square Enix. Yep. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm hoping that one's pretty good, and we pick up games like Temtem, but Temtem's not a game I'm gonna throw hundreds of hours to on a regular basis. It's like I'll pick up and like play a little bit and then put it away for a little bit, type of thing. So.
Wow. Well, we're gonna try Darksiders Genesis tomorrow, though.
Yeah, Darksiders Genesis comes out tomorrow, and we've pre-ordered that. Never played anything like it before, but we'll see.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing, is that in the position that we're in, especially on Mixer, it seems like the bigger net you can cast, the better chance you have at survival, unless you're in the top 20 viewed streams on the platform, like, and then you can play whatever you want, but those people are pigeonholed.
Yes.
Those people don't leave their directories, right? Yep. They're all the BR players, and they can't, when they leave their directories, if they don't figure out how to quickly adapt. I'll give you an example. Crixicus, he was a member of Passion. He played all Fortnite to get to 100K, and then said, "I'm done with the game." And I watched his stream go from, he would be 200 people solid every single day, down under 100.
Yeah.
And sometimes into the 60s and 70s. And then he picked up GTA 5 and started doing the Frenzy RP stuff. And now he's back up into the 250s. But he, like, if you don't Like, you're going to have those months where if you played that one game, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough no matter what. So
yeah, that's why we've been also trying to put, I mean, we've also, it's kind of twofold, because just before my accident we were really working hard at like getting better as creators over top of the game, because that can translate to whatever we're doing. And then since I was home, we got this other PC up, and then we've been working hard putting together like more back end stuff, because we have the time and there's both of us, we can both be working whatever. And was the 1 week we realized that we streamed less hours than normal, but we were working for more hours than if I was at my job. Which is
I mean, crazy. It's been like that almost the entire time you've been home. Last week we streamed, it was 38 or 39 hours, and on top of that we must have put in like at least another 20 to 30 offline. Easy. Easy. But I mean, that's everybody.
Well, but,
I think you too, like, it's everybody.
Everyone's on the YouTube train and needs to be on the YouTube train. Honestly, like, I'm working on trying to find an editor. Because I don't have time with the schedule that I have. I'm every night, like, the wife is down in the basement with me. Like, we've got a TV show on, but my head's in the freaking editor trying to edit YouTube content, and it's not my strong suit. But I know that I have to be out there. Like, my brand discoverability is where my focus is in 2020. And that's going to include YouTube content and just general searchability on the web. And if you're not focusing on that, like, you're gonna fall behind. And that's just that.
So we've been it's well, I know, like, we talked about this very briefly earlier in the year. And it's the exact same thing for us. Like, 2020 is, I mean, it's about continuing to push ourselves to be better entertainers, but on top of that, it's like discoverability and diversity and like being everywhere. I don't know if you've seen or heard of the Clutch app, but we're on there. That's more for just gameplay.
Yes, it's like it's
like clips, right? Yeah. So actually, what I've been using it for mostly is you just put a clip up there or whatever. I'm not really pushing like the clutch part itself, but from there you can stitch them all together. You can get your Xbox clips, like, they directly upload right to the app.
That's nice.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a hub for all your clips.
Because we don't have one as freaking partners on.
Right, yeah. And then
I hear that they're working on it.
I don't know, right? And then from there you can share to different social media platforms or download it to your phone and then put it wherever you want. My only complaint,
like, the tools in Clutch are really simple and really easy to use. Like, there's a little slowdown tool where you literally watch through it and then you slide the thing to the parts you want to slow down or speed up.
And you can add captions,
you can add voiceover.
Voiceover and everything.
But I think big thing too is that, like, just from this list, we use Xbox and PC upload. So there's a PC uploader, so we can actually put stream clips up there, or from your library, from PlayStation, OneDrive, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch clips, and Nintendo Switch. So, like, it's
just I'm finding it very useful just to kind of get things out there in like a quick, fast way. Like, you can kind of just post it one place and go everywhere.
I'm pretty sure I got an email at one point.
There was something somewhere.
They were looking for partners, right?
Yes. Which I mean, I don't know. We applied weeks ago. We haven't heard anything, so I don't know. But we'll see, maybe. But regardless, my only complaint with it is that it compresses the video very small. So when you share it to like Facebook, for example, it's not really the best quality. But I mean, for your mobile apps, like if you're putting it to Twitter and Instagram, it's fine. Yeah. But Clutch, and I mean, our podcasts we've been doing bi-weekly. I mean, this doesn't really tie into stream very much, but it's kind of nice to just chat. Yeah, it's like an excuse to chat with people about stuff.
Well, exactly, because you don't usually just sit down with your fellow content creators, get to
Well, I
chill
was
unless
just
you're
gonna
at a
say
con or something.
we get so head down on our own content that it makes it really
Mhm.
hard to take time to be like, hey, what's up?
Yeah,
How's it going?
100%.
Like-
Definitely. I like the other big advantage, which kind of ties into what I wanted to talk about, is that on a podcast you get a chance to actually air out your thoughts and
Right.
not have someone in chat yelling at you because you said something, and not make people feel uncomfortable because they can always turn you off. Like, it's not a
True.
it's a place where we can actually talk about things that you wouldn't normally talk about in stream, because you want stream to be a welcoming place. You don't want to accidentally offend anyone, but it's very easy to do that when you're keeping your thoughts short and not letting them expand like you can on a podcast, and
Right.
actually go through the thoughts. Which leads me into that being a cause for a lot of the outrage culture that we've been seeing blossom in the past like 2 years, 3 years, I don't know, whenever Twitter started.
It's definitely gotten worse.
It's gotten a lot worse.
Oh, it's
and like
terrible.
it's bad. And I first, like, I mean, I was never really on Twitter until we started up for stream, right? And even like the
Right.
first year or two of Twitter, I didn't really notice much of anything crazy going on. And then had it pointed out to me when I was listening to a lot of Joe Rogan's podcast and the stuff they were talking about, and then I saw it happen in front of my face on Twitter over and over and over again in the Destiny community. I'm like this started out as such a positive, close-knit, like friendly community, and everyone's at their throats now. Like
Every day.
every
I
day.
think I think the big challenge that, and this is, I mean, this isn't necessarily unique to content creation or even just gaming,
No.
but in general, as things grow, as growth happens, competition gets stiffer, and that's when people start baring their teeth.
Mhm.
And it's I feel like it's an unavoidable side of being human.
I think so.
Is that people are naturally going to defend their territory. Once they
Yep.
get their territory, they're going to defend their territory.
Yep.
And that's when people get nasty about it. And I literally tweeted about this the other day. Bragging over the top of other creators and saying, I have more subs than you, or I have more viewers than you, or you shouldn't be talking because I'm this, like, is one of the worst forms of this. And like, people say this stuff comes out of people's mouths, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what? You did not just say that on the internet.
And what's crazy too, because like you think, okay, internet, Twitter, you have this kind of anonymity, not really, but you have like your distance away from people, right?
Right.
I remember hearing about a story at TwitchCon where someone went up to talk to somebody, and the first words out of their mouth, they looked at them and were like, how many subs do you have? As if that was a prerequisite for talking to somebody face to face. Like, that's fucking disgusting.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I can't even imagine, like, no matter where I've ever been at, I could never ever imagine even saying something like that. Like,
No.
not even on the internet.
No, not at all.
I
Like,
would just never come out of anything out of me ever.
No.
Out of my fingers, out of my mouth, nothing.
Like, I was born and raised to respect other people, and I think there's just there's two challenges. One, I think there's just a lack of respect nowadays.
Yep.
Yes. Like people just, they have a lack of respect for each other. There's no you're a human being, I'm a human being. We all eat, sleep, and crap. Our crap all stinks. We're all human. Like, there's no even respect for the fact that, like, yeah, we might all have different socioeconomic backgrounds, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We all have basic necessities. We all do the same things to live and function. The least you could do is respect that, and people don't even respect that anymore.
No.
So there's a lack of respect, and I think the other, specifically in content creation, the challenge is that there's a lot of really young people in
Yeah.
content creation who found
Just
success
learning their
early. They found this odd sense of social power, right?
and
At
importance.
at their fingertips at a very young age, before they found out who they were or what they stood for or what they believed in or any of that stuff, and then they were like, oh, I can do whatever I want
Yeah.
because people are
Yeah,
following
yeah.
me. And
Exactly.
so you combine the lack of respect with the just overall young age, I feel like, in content creation, and it's a recipe for cancel culture. It's a
Yeah.
recipe for people to go at other people unabashed with, frankly, little fear that there could potentially be repercussions until they do
100%.
something so bad
Yeah.
that they get their partnership pulled on Twitch, or that they get their their sponsorships pulled, or things along those lines.
100%. And like I think it goes back to something you briefly touched on about growth. Like that lack of respect definitely comes from having so many people on this planet and clustered together in one space. Like we both grew up in small towns, and like the mentality of people in a small town versus going to Toronto or something is so different. And Toronto's not even a big city compared to the places in the States. Like it's not, and it will only get worse. And then now you have the social space that's on the internet where you have millions of people at your fingertips, and that just makes the problem even worse. And then you can only talk in small snippets, and then you can't put out a full thought. You can't have a full conversation. That makes that worse.
Oh, Twitter's so bad for that too, because you get 140 characters or something.
Now. Yeah, it's 280 now, but still not enough.
No. But people they try to have full on discussions and opinions and arguments, and
it never works.
You can't even get out your full thoughts in that. You know, write like a 20 tweet thing.
Yeah.
Like it just doesn't, it's not the place for it. I don't know.
And that's the other challenge, is that you've got a mix of, so you're right in terms of like small town mentality is so much different. I grew up in a town of 10,000. Like, and it was tiny, and everyone had each other's backs. Like you took care of your neighbors, you took care of your grandma and your grandpa, you took care of your parents. Like everyone took care of everyone. In the city, it's fend for yourself, bud. Have fun. How many cars can you see whipping by someone who's got a flat? I myself included, right? Like at the end of the day, like I get so busy that I'm like, well, I hopefully they've got a spare.
Yeah.
And that's
everybody's so busy, right? That's like part
and
of
like
the problem.
going back to what you're talking about, repercussions, like with kids not learning how that works. When you're on social media from a very young age, you don't immediately get that social sense of, hey, I'm in elementary school, and if I make someone mad, then they're not going to be my friend. I see that. It's in front of me. They're not going to whatever. But if I'm on Instagram or social media and I have like 5,000 friends, and then it doesn't matter if that one friend blocks me or whatever, I got more. And then if you look at the comparison between a small town and a big city, if you're in a big city and you bump shoulders with someone and like they knock you over or whatever, you're not going to lose any skin if you yell at them, say whatever you want. You're not going to see them again. There's the chances of you running into them again, very slim. You do that in a small town, maybe they're your like neighbor's cousin. I don't know. Maybe they work at the store that you want to get something from, and they're like, you're paying double for that. So
yeah, oh, absolutely. Like it's a very, very different mentality, and it's desensitizing to see how many people you can amass in a quote unquote following, that missing that one, like how many times have you looked at a tweet and you're like, oh, that one got 100 likes. Oh, look, that one got 100 likes. Oh, that one got 100 likes. That one got, like, after it builds after a while, you don't notice until it's something that's out of the ordinary. And like your ordinary engagement changes. And then all of a sudden it messes with, like, it doesn't mess with you if you miss one, right?
Yeah.
When you start amassing that big number. The thing that I find funny is when people do get messed up when other people block them, or they do get messed up and they get really, really mad. They're like, oh, look at this guy blocked me. Oh my God. Like there was that thing that went down like 6 months ago where everyone was blocking everyone else. And there was like people calling other people to the carpet. And I'm like, oh, where's my popcorn? I need some popcorn.
It gets weird when you get this sense that they feel that they get clout by getting blocked.
Yeah.
That's what blew. I noticed that. I thought about that the other day when I saw another one. I was like, wait, they feel good that this person blocked them and they're showing it off. Like, you take a screenshot and be like, hey, so-and-so blocked me. Like,
it's
you feel
weird.
the need to share that with everyone and be like,
I think when we first, like early on in content creation, like D1, like way before, I would occasionally jump in on little like tweets here and there and like state my opinion on things, especially when it came to with people discussing like Trials of Osiris and stuff. It was something we were very passionate about. We played
like
a lot of
changes
and like like different PvP stuff, and people would be like, oh, whatever, and I would disagree, and I'd be like, well, like, you know, this and that, whatever, and they'd always get super mad, and I'd be like, all right, whatever, and I'd walk away. And now I don't even go near it. I see a tweet, I click on it and look at some replies, and then I'm right back out of there. Because like I don't want to get involved. I'm not gonna like it. I'm not gonna retweet it. I want nothing to do with it because it's just not worth it. I don't know. I just can't be bothered. There's more important things.
Right, exactly. Like where are you going to spend your time? Exactly. Are you going to spend your time arguing on the internet with some stranger who you may or may not even know? Talking about something that at the end of the day, I'm going to bring it back to content creation. Is it going to help you grow your brand? Exactly. Or is it going to paint your brand in a negative light? Is it going to help you? Is it going to help people become part of your community and maybe eventually become supporters in some way or another? Probably not. If anything, it might push some of your already supporters away, right? So you have to be like, I always err on the side of, if I wouldn't tell my grandma this, I'm probably not putting it on the internet. Like unless it's like an obvious meme of some sort. I feel like there's a fine line between meme culture and cancel culture at this point.
Yes.
You've got the people who are playing passive aggressive and they're like, oh, it's just a joke. And but they're kind of not joking. And so you kind of, it's a very interesting space to be in, because there's so much going on at any given time. And like one of my biggest problems, my Mom Got Game calls me to the carpet for this all the time. Put your phone down. Because I get sucked into staying up on everything that's going on, right?
Yes.
That's like, information is king. And the more information I have, the better. But at some points, you just got to shut it off too. You can't you can't engage in everything.
My favorite analogy is that it's like, just like your stomach needs food, your brain needs food, and what you feed it is information. So what are you eating? What is your brain eating? If your diet is mostly consisted of scrolling through toxic tweets, is that really healthy for your brain?
Honestly, it affects me.
It'll affect you.
Like if all I see on my feed, and it's like constant all day, like every time I open it is like just trash, like it will affect my mood negatively. And that's like crazy, because I don't care. I don't really care. Like it's more just that there's so much, like I'm seeing so much negativity that I start feeling negative and like aggressive, but I'm not even like involved in it. Like I'm not even commenting or anything. I mean, my timeline's fairly clean now. Like if somebody gets real out of hand or something, I usually just mute or block or whatever. But
and there
are some days where I'm like, whoa, why are you all attacking this poor person?
Right.
Right.
They just made a mistake. I think, and I know that we've talked about this before, Pete, it's so easy to take things out of context as well.
Oh, dude.
Because
Well, again, with 280 characters, fleshing out any sort of thought or providing context to anything
it's not
is
even
harder.
just
It's impossible.
It's not even just on Twitter though. Like, say you're on stream and you're like mid talking about something that's like a joke, and you'd explained it already, and then the last bit was something that if somebody only heard that, they could snip that and like take whatever. And like I swear to God, that must happen so often to some of these people. Like, things are just taken out of context. They're talking about something, they're ranting at a troll, whatever it is, and then bam. And all you see is this little clip of them saying this terrible thing and acting this way. But like none of us have seen what was happening before or after, or even really during all of this.
Right. Like, a good example of that, like, this leads well into cancel culture, is I guess they're referring to her as Subgirl, but where she was talking about like you guys spend all this time in stream and you can't even sub to me and this and that, and like, one, you don't know what style of streamer she is, and two, from what I heard, that's like her shtick. That's how she treats people. Like, Thump talks down to his viewers all the time. That's just like what he does. 3,
everybody has their thing, I guess. Like, what I said was the first when I saw that, I was like, I would never ever even say anything close to that, because I don't feel that way, and like I just would never. Anyways, but for some people, they have this persona. Look at Dr. Disrespect.
Yeah. So and it's just you take that bit, and people are so quick to jump on the holier than thou train so quickly. Oh yeah, no, it's never about the money, blah 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 blah, this and that. And like, you're using someone's out of context clip to make yourself look good in a twisted way that's almost worse.
I have a confession. I have a confession. I have a confession to make. I'm one of those guys. Like, when I first saw that, I was like, "Oh my good Lord, what are you talking about?" Like,
I mean, I said that as well. I just didn't do any of it on social media.
Well, and I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything on Twitter or anything like that. But it comes up in stream, of course. Yeah. And my first reaction is, "Oh my gosh, you never say that." But I also made the point that you have no idea what she was going through.
Yes.
Like, that particular day, she literally could have been having the worst day. Like, her mom could have just died. But she's a full-time broadcaster, and literally, like, all of a sudden, funeral expenses, like, it could have been anything. But like, you think about the worst case scenario, she literally could have had like a relative die, and she's looking at, as a full-time content creator, funeral expenses and all of these things that go along with that, and you have no idea. You have no idea. So you're taking that clip. Again, it's not something that should be said. And I made the point to say, if she was in that bad of a mindset, probably should have gone offline at that point. Like, it would have been better 100%. To just not engage at that point. Yeah. And like, as content creators, that's something that I think is massively, like, is a huge conflict for us, is making the decision to say, I know I'm going to make bad content. Do I hit the go live button or not? Because I have to. Because if I don't, I know that today I'm not making any money, right? Yeah. When you're a full-time content creator and this is your gig, like, you have to make that conscious decision. And sometimes it's better to not go live. Mm-hmm. Yes. Sometimes you would be better off just doing back-end stuff. There's plenty of back-end stuff to do. There's plenty of emails to send. There's plenty of communications to have. There's plenty of bot work to do and overlays to run and marketing to explore. There's so many things at any given time that you could be doing offline, that if it's going to be one of those days where you're going to say something that's going to come back to bite you in the butt, you should probably consider not hitting the go live button. And it's again, agreed. You guys are full-time creators. I'm a full-time creator. You know as well as I do that is way easier said than done. Yes. Definitely. But yeah, I agree. I agree with you though, that like, it can be easy to jump on the bandwagon when everybody's riding it. Mm-hmm. And to get on board with, you should never say this kind of thing. And the amount of times that tweet was retweeted is actually
Oh my
disgusting.
God. Yes.
It's actually disgusting, the amount of engagement that I hope that for her sake, she's not actually like that, or that the way that it was portrayed, that's not actually what she's like, and that she actually had something good come out of it. Because like the amount of engagement that got was insane.
It's crazy. Well, what else? Like I mean, I haven't done this honestly. Like when I was off at first, I was on Twitter a lot, and then I was like, this is really shitty. So like a lot of the times I'll go to Twitter and my finger will go to Reddit instead. I'm like, oh, this is nicer. Because I've got like
the fact that you're saying Reddit is nicer than Twitter is hard to believe.
Well, it depends on what subs you go to.
Oh, you have to avoid the Destiny one like the plague.
Yeah, well, those I just skip over the Destiny ones unless they're mean. No. But what was I going to say? No, there's that one guy who like apparently that's just his thing, is he'll just find really polarizing things and say like what everyone's going to be mad at. And he did one on Destiny, and I screen capped it and then tweeted that, because I was like, I'm not going to retweet his tweet. I'm not going to get him another retweet over the like 23,000 he already has. Like, he doesn't need more attention.
So there's a lot of people that say that, is there really any bad publicity? Like, if you're getting engagement and you're getting this, like, a lot of the times,
not from Twitter's end,
a lot of the times,
and not from Facebook's
even
end,
people that say the worst
YouTube's
things, they end up with all these new followers and all this and I'm like, I don't know about you, but I hit the block button. Yeah. Right? Like I don't want anything to do with it, but it's crazy.
It's kind of like I'm gonna name it right now, the Tekashi 69 syndrome, because even there were some people that liked him, but there was like another 1.5 million people who hated his guts but still followed him and watched every YouTube video he did because they wanted to see what he's doing.
Yeah.
A lot of people just want to see what's going on with the things that make them, I don't know, either angry or happy that they're angry. I don't know. People like to be angry.
I wonder how it's true. People like to,
they love it.
And this
feels good.
This is what I don't get. Is it? I feel like it's almost a social stigma that you're not allowed to show emotion. You're not supposed to, right? We go through school. You're supposed to sit quietly in class. If you have an outburst, you're going to the principal's office. If you don't agree with something, if you decide to stand up against the teacher because it's not something you agree with, you're going to the principal's office. Like, everything that allows us to express emotion in one way or another seems to be stomped out of us from a young age up through even the workplace. Yeah. You're not allowed to talk about politics or religion or any of the things that you're passionate about because it's not work related, or because it's so polarizing that it causes a hostile work environment. So people are seeking an emotional release from 100%. The people who are allowed to do it, which are content creators.
I would agree with that. I would also say that,
you know what, honestly, I hadn't even thought about that, but it makes sense.
Yeah, the suppression of your emotions definitely leads to that, especially when being angry on the internet is rewarded. When you are in an uproar about something and pissed at something and you yell it out and you get these 100 people and these 100 people either engaging and supporting you in your angriness or being angry at you, so you can be angry back at them. It just fuels
and then
the
your
fire.
supporters,
it's so rewarding.
Your supporters can get angry with the non-supporters, and then that starts going on, and you start getting that cross-play going, and suddenly your tweet hits 500,000 impressions, and you're like, ooh, what else can I get angry about?
I would say, like, if you take this play back to when we were savages, violence is so rewarded because you get to take what you want. You get to raid the village and get the stuff. You get to defend yourself against the wild animals if you attack them back. So I would think like the endorphin release from being angry is a very relatable emotion, and that's that's what you see with mob mentality too, where you'll see someone kicking the shit out of someone else, and then everyone starts joining in, but they don't know what the initial thing was about. But they see violence, and they're okay. It's okay now. It's okay for me to let go and just do whatever. And then the other thing,
I think people need to find a different way.
Well, of course, but I think the other thing is exacerbated by social media is the algorithms that they use to monitor engagement. I know this has been talked about with Facebook a bunch, because it usually it's very much focused on engagement of whatever the link is or whatever the post is, and the ones that are that cause outrage or cause people to be angry are going to get more engagement, because if you're scrolling down and you see a happy post, you might like it. You might look at it and be like, oh, that's nice. You go to something you really don't like. Yeah. No one does anything, but you see something you really disagree with, you're going to speak up. You're going to be like, yeah, this is wrong, blah, blah, blah. So then the algorithm sees, they really want posts like this to show up, so they'll show you more. And then you're more angry, and you see more angry posts, or the posts that make you angry. So
I think you're hitting on something that's actually super. It's been around for decades, and like I've been around this planet for 36 years, and even back in the day, like when was the last time you saw a happy news story?
Right, we talk about this all the time
because they don't get engagement from happy news stories.
Right. The crazy thing to me though is that the news, you don't engage with the news, right? You watch it.
Yes.
No. Yeah.
You consume it, and that's it. There's no, I mean, you can take to social after the fact, but the context is lost at that point. But it's still something that people will be drawn into something they disagree with more than they agree with.
Yep.
Yes.
And nobody actually, I get the distinct impression that people don't want to be part of an echo chamber.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's not as much value in an echo chamber as there is in a debate. Progress doesn't happen from an echo chamber.
No.
Right? And so I think part of the, and again, like, I mean, we're just sharing perspective at this point, right? Because I don't know that there's any one thing that any of us could do to fix cancel culture other than not participating in it, right?
Yes. Be good examples.
But at the end of the day, us as human beings, I think we end up thriving more on something we can debate with than something we can agree with.
Oh,
and I
100%.
think that's going to be a challenge. That's going to be a challenge that's going to present itself regardless of whether we're talking on Twitter or engaging even with someone face to face, right?
Yeah.
It's really funny because I was at my buddy's wedding. This would have been 4 years ago. We were in Mexico, and not like resort Mexico. We were in the middle of Mexico, like small town, like Puebla, Mexico.
Yeah.
Everyone spoke Spanish. I don't speak a lick of Spanish. So like there's all this stuff going on around me. I have no idea what anyone's saying. I can barely order coffee. But at the same time, we're in this little villa where they're getting married, because she's originally from Mexico, that area of Mexico. And so it was really funny because the thing that I remember almost the most out of that entire thing was the political debate that we had. And I fall very much on the conservative side, and a lot of my friends don't. And at the end of the day, no one punched anyone.
No.
There was a little bit of yelling. Okay, that's fair. But I mean, at the end of the day,
a little bit.
Yeah, blood pressure maybe up a little bit. But at the end of the day, we had our talk in the afternoon, and that night he got married, and everyone partied, and it was great, right?
Yeah.
Being able to there's a difference between cancel culture and a constructive conversation.
Yes.
Too,
yes.
right. And I think it's very important to draw a distinction between the two, because if we don't, it just leads to more negativity and more drama and all the things that no one actually, well, maybe people do actually want it. But
well, the thing about an echo chamber is it's comfortable. And I mean, so adversity will give you growth and increase strength and bring improvement, but it's not comfortable, right? It's not, you have to be willing to push yourself and to face challenges, but in an echo chamber, which is created by cancel culture, because if you're like, okay, I don't like this guy's opinion, get rid of them, I don't like what they're saying, get rid of them, all you have left are the people that agree with you, and then you get this echo chamber that everyone agrees, and then what? Then there's no growth, adaptation, no change, nothing. And that's the powerful thing that comes with debates, is it's not about one side ultimately being right and the other side ultimately being wrong. It's about having the discussion on the same issues with different points of view to find the best possible solution for the most possible people. But sadly, politics doesn't quite work that way. Unfortunately,
I really wish it did. Like, I feel like, especially stateside, until we get to a point where we're either going to implode or we get to a point. I've always had the idea, and I've had this idea for years. I don't know how to make it work, but we need to force a Republican president and Democratic vice president, or vice versa, to run together.
That would be, yeah.
You are not allowed to be on the ballot unless you're running with someone of the opposite party.
It's a good idea.
Because at the end of the day,
that idea, we
have to work together.
Yes.
And I get that we're all passionate about issues and want them to fall one way or another, but to get anything done, you've got to meet in the middle. There's a song about that.
Somewhere. Yeah. Yeah,
right?
And like, I know it's different in the States compared to Canada. Canada being smaller, younger, etc. But I remember a very interesting point being brought up that I never really thought about, but how the United States is the longest running experiment of democracy that hasn't failed yet. Democracy has never failed yet. So what is the failure of democracy going to be? We've seen all the other setups fail. We know how they fail. We've combated them. And we have this democracy thing that we're trying out. And no one knows what the actual tipping point of that is yet.
Yeah.
Which maybe we'll see in our lifetime, possibly.
Sorry, I wanted to, I quick Google search it because I'm very curious now.
Oh, it's okay.
No worries.
Failed democratic governments that collapsed into dictatorships. Nazi Germany, North Korea, Iraq, Ghana, and Venezuela.
Yeah, because they've... This is just
that's the where we're headed. Oh my gosh. I just now looked it up and now I'm scared. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing, right? Is because the failure of democracy is not that democracy fails yet, because it hasn't failed yet. It just turns into a dictatorship.
Right.
Which
because eventually the pendulum swings one way or another far enough where there's no way to get it to swing back.
Yep.
Fair.
Yep.
And this is why this is what cancel culture is all about, right? Get the pendulum to swing far enough to knock someone out of power.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right? Sadly enough.
From the wise words of a farmer that talks way too much, but I was talking to him about politics, and he was like, someone once told me, if you take the left and you take the right and you push them out far enough, they don't stretch further away from each other, they turn into a ring, become the opposite sides or the same sides. And you see it. They were talking about
that's
Antifa. Yeah, Antifa is supposed to be anti-fascist, where if people don't know, fascist is basically they have a set of rules or a set of ideologies, and if you don't go by that, you're wrong and you should be kicked out or whatever. Supposed to be against that, but if you don't align with Antifa, then you're against them. And they respond with violence. So aren't they they're just the same thing?
Right, exactly.
Labeling them as something else. That blew my mind.
Yeah,
I was like, and it's happening now and getting worse. So I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of glad we're up here in Canada. All cold.
Yeah.
I'll take the cold over there.
Igloos.
I live in Wisconsin. I'm gonna hop right over the border if anything goes south. So.
So I was gonna say at the start, I was like, one day we'll be able to just fly you guys up here to Canada to do a podcast. Hopefully.
That would be awesome. I actually
awesome.
my wife visited Banff, Canada, when in her previous job, and she said, "Oh my gosh, it's absolutely gorgeous. We need to go up there." And I'm like, I've only been through Canada. Like I took a 4-hour drive from New York to like Michigan, just on the Canada side because I was I want to see what.
What's up?
The
most boring part of Canada.
Yeah, I could say I've been to Canada now, I guess.
Other than like Saskatchewan or Manitoba.
But I do want to visit. I hear Toronto's an absolutely amazing city.
Toronto's awesome. Yeah,
I guess if you're a touring, if you're a tourist,
if you're here visiting,
it's nice. If you live here, I don't know.
I think we have the worst public transit system of any city in the world.
Terrible.
It's terrible.
I doubt that. You've never been to Milwaukee.
Fair. Sorry, maybe worst subway systems out of all subway systems. I remember seeing
you have a subway. You have a subway system?
Yeah, we do have a subway system.
Oh, okay, all right.
And we have streetcars now, so maybe it's getting better. But
I think the only public transit we have is buses.
Sorry, and you gotta start somewhere.
City of Milwaukee, like proper. There's there's very little else going on around it.
We're getting better. We do have
it's a political complaint of ours. As residents, we would like to see more public transit options
100%
available, and it's just not there right now.
Well, I think that's a whole other discussion. It can lead into a whole other discussion. Public transit is really the only way that you're going to be able to like reduce the usage of like vehicles and stuff. Like if people can't get around, they have to get to work, right?
Yeah. Well, and the better the public transit is, the less the socioeconomic barriers of like Milwaukee is the most segregated city in the country, in the United States. And it's very, very apparent where the lines are because that's where the buses kind of like end.
Really?
There's nothing. There's very few options. And again, like public transit is good for people who are local, right? Yep. But when you have to take 3 buses to get to a job, you're talking about potentially 3 hours to travel, 5 miles, and to get to a job that pays, more than minimum wage. It's any wonder that everything stays segregated.
Yep, definitely.
I kind of leads into something else listening on the podcast today, and we just recently watched Joker. Have you seen Joker yet?
What was that?
Joker. Have you seen Joker yet?
I have not seen Joker yet.
Okay.
I honestly won't see it till it comes out, so I'm not really bummed about spoilers.
Okay, so a spoiler alert: he is mentally ill, goes to the therapist.
Really?
Yeah, but they cut funding, and then he can't see his therapist anymore. He can't get his meds anymore because there's no support for it in Gotham, and that triggers him going off the rails. And I think that was one of the biggest like political things of that movie, and how much of a real problem it is, because they were talking about LA, and in that city, this blew my mind. I didn't realize it was this big. It's 20 million people.
Oh yeah.
There's only like 30 something million people in Canada. There's less than 20 million people in Australia, all slammed in this place, and they have thousands and thousands of homeless people, and homelessness can happen quick. And the guy was talking about he was waiting tables, and he worked with this lady, and she was always very nice, did yoga and stuff. Like he was like, when she's mad, like, oh, something's wrong. And then all of a sudden saw her less, and saw her on the street, and then she was going off the rails. She started missing teeth. She's homeless, and it could have been as simple as a mental illness that maybe insurance got cut. Maybe funding got cut. Maybe she's in a situation where she wasn't getting money in that she could afford to pay for her meds. As simple as that. Boom. Now she's out on the street. She's stuck. And it can be as simple as like a layman would probably go, oh, they're homeless. Why don't they get a job if they're able-bodied? Well, what if they can't get from where they're sleeping to the job because there's no freaking public transit that gets them there? And it's not as easy as, oh, well, maybe you can just walk. No, like, cities are getting so big and so hard to traverse, and there's so much, like, the barrier to entry to doing things now in some cases is lower, but in other cases is higher when you have so many people crammed into the spot, so many different districts and whatever. Like, if you don't have good public transit, that's like the main thing that you need to be able to do in a city is get from point A to point B.
LA is actually the 5th largest economy in the entire world.
That's crazy.
Like, countries, it's got a bigger economy than most countries on the planet.
That's crazy.
And it's hard to fathom that a city with that much money coming in and out every day has the social problems that it does.
Yeah.
The number of homeless people and the number of people who we're literally like so far off the rails at this point. That's what we were originally talking about.
That's what this is for. It doesn't matter. We're talking about LA now.
It's a challenging dynamic to make sure that people are taken care of in the ways that they need to be taken care of. And everyone likes to blame, oh, this is going to get me in so much trouble. Everyone likes to blame school shootings on guns, and no one wants to tackle mental illness as a core fundamental reason why these things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
And no one wants to admit that our healthcare system's failing so badly that it's causing all sorts of other unintended consequences that we didn't have 30 years ago. And the fact is like, I was bullied growing up. There were times where I just wanted to outrage and just go off on someone. Did I ever consider bringing a gun to school and shooting someone? No. Because I had parents who cared.
Yeah.
I had parents who took care of me and propped me up when I got bullied. I had support to get through the mentally tough and emotionally tough times that are associated with bullying. Now, parents have to work sometimes 3 jobs just to live.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have time to raise their kids to deal with these emotional issues. They don't, or they're so invested in their career that they probably shouldn't have had kids in the first place, and they don't want to invest that time into their children to make sure that they grow up to be functional members of society. And if we're not willing to look at, if we only look at the surface, we're never going to get to the root and fix the actual problem. No. It's a problem with social issues. It's a problem with healthcare. It's a problem with so many things in society today that I don't know how to fix it. My hope is that, and part of what I want to do is to build up enough social equity to be able to do something about an issue I'm passionate about someday. Yes. Right. Yep. And at the end of the day, that's the only time we can really truly make change is to take up your cause yourself and to try and get to the root of it and actually fix the root of it and not just skim over the surface and say, well, better luck next time.
Well,
that's what it feels like most of the time.
Well, and this is kind of relates to what we talked about with what Miss Dr. Lupo said about we don't need what was it? We don't need one person doing sustainability perfectly. We need 1 million people doing it imperfectly.
Yeah.
And what we were talking with Ryan about, because my kind of theory on it is, while we may at an individual level may not feel like we can do much, what we need to be doing is fostering the right attitudes to have those priorities in mind, so that when the people in power who actually have the resources at their fingertips to change things, when they think about the decisions they're going to make, they have the right mentality. Because I think that's the main problem we have right now with, especially the way capitalism works, with how money can somehow get you money. $1 billion can get you another $1 billion very quickly. When then all of a sudden, once you get past a certain threshold, your money value just starts growing exponentially. They aren't invested in the right solutions, or finding the right solutions, or having the right mentality about certain issues. So I think, so this kind of ties right back into what we started with outrage culture, cancel culture. We talked a little bit about virtue signaling, even like woke culture can kind of be lumped into that. And while all these things we've seen a lot of negative things from them, the one positive is it at least has more people talking about these issues. Whereas before they may have been glossed over, or they may not at least have been in debate. Maybe they're kind of swung too far the one way, but here's to hoping it will eventually, we can contain it and not let it fly off the rails.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the one, I'm not going to call it a benefit to cancel culture, because I don't think it's overall just a negative thing, but I think people are, I think it's an enablement of the technology that we have, in the ability to do things like this, right? To put out a podcast, to quickly, potentially at least start a conversation, on social media, where again, many people have built their following, right? I think that the challenge is that people don't know or leverage all of the technology they have at their fingertips to really effectively manage the social equity that they have, right? Because at the end of the day, Reddit's a perfect place to have a conversation with someone, right? Forums are a perfect place to have a conversation with someone. Twitter is not the place to do it. Instagram is not the place to do it. Like, yeah, you can put out short videos and stuff like that, but how much more powerful would be a short video, with a quick, I want to chat about this topic, right? I've got 280 characters to convince you to click this link and to go have a conversation with me, versus I'm going to put something super toxic out there, and try and drive that engagement to gain that social power. And people latch onto it because they know they can, right? They know they can gain momentum by being toxic, as opposed to trying to gain momentum by being a positive person. That's probably one of my biggest challenges as a family-friendly content creator, is to figure out and try and walk that line between making sure that I'm maintaining that positivity, maintaining that family friendliness, while still getting points across and being able to have hard conversations with people, or at least talk about hard topics, in a way that isn't degrading to anyone, but still brings light to the subject, because it's something that needs to be talked about.
In its essence, that's basically a big reason why we started the podcast, is to have conversations like this, because you can actually, like I said, you can air it out. You can actually talk about the nuances in the discussion, instead of, and it can be something that is labeled, okay, like maybe we're family friendly over here, but when you come to the podcast, this is where we sit down. We have our coffees out, whatever, and we have like adult conversations. So,
right. Well, and
it's
I think
been good so far.
No, agreed. I'm enjoying this immensely. So let me ask you this: what do you think is the best way to appropriately address topics of concern? And what's the most effective way to leverage the social equity that you do have, in order to make a big enough impact so that the powers that be will actually do something about it?
That's a very tricky question.
There's a lot of components to it.
Yeah. Well, sorry, not necessarily a tricky question, but it's a tricky answer, because like you run the risk of finding yourself on a pretty slippery slope when you when you try to push things out in a public package, say a tweet or a video or like a short whatever, it's super, super difficult to have all your nuances and your context of your opinion in that package.
Right.
And it also is a lot easier when you know who you're directing it to. So as far as an actual answer, I don't know if I have a good answer. Do you have any ideas, babe?
Oh, I tend to stay away from it all.
Yeah.
Which is maybe not the right way to deal with it, but I don't know what the answer is. I don't know.
I was curious because I don't know.
Yeah, I haven't quite figured out how to.
When you crack that egg, you let me know.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that like I know I try to focus on every day is using whatever social reach that I have to try to make a positive, be a positive influence on those people, and try to get them to personally feel better about themselves and make sure they're working towards their goals and that kind of like that's what I try to do, just to try to overall make
I guess
things more positive in general. But
that, I guess I could say that my answer would be something that personally I'm trying to do, which is this kind of relates to how you support people on stream and how you interact with people on stream, because it's not scalable to be in a personal relationship with 90% of your viewers when you're trying to scale that up, right? So my thought on it has always been the analogy of being a tree and growing the best I can myself and growing as strong as I can myself and be as good as an inspiration myself so that others can lean on me, others can take shade underneath my branches, and I can support people with my strength and what I exemplify, as opposed to reaching out to other people and trying to prop them up or pull them down or kind of get my hands in everything. I just kind of want to be an example as opposed to be trying to work out a solution.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It's challenging any way you look at it, because most of our social reach, I would argue, probably comes from the stream.
Yes.
Right? It's our viewership, it's our regular viewership, it's the people who are with us day in and day out, right? I still have a lot of people who aren't on Twitter, who aren't on Instagram, who aren't on those social media platforms, and aren't able to support or engage either way in a meaningful way that makes a lot of sense and contributes to their particular viewpoint on anything. In that meaningful way. So I think that's a challenge that I think we're going to continue to see as content creators, and something that we have to figure out how to overcome, whether technological or process wise, overcome in a way that can make things better than it is now.
Yeah. And I think, just thinking about this now, it's kind of part of my biggest fear of interacting on social media is my fear of appearing to do things just for engagement, just for clout, just for recognition from a certain person. I don't want to look like that, and I don't want to be that, and I don't want to do it. And sometimes that will hold me off of simply replying to a tweet. Maybe I have a reply, but I don't want to be seem thirsty or whatever, right? You don't want to be that guy. And I think that's the problem with I guess specifically Twitter, is that if it just appears too much that everything is for the likes, it's for the engagement, it's for the retweets, that trying to put something out on a forum like that, even on Instagram or any other social media for that matter, that regardless of how well intentioned it is or how well put together it is, it's like, if it gets a lot of views or gets a lot of attention, you just did it for the intention. That kind of seems to be the first thing that people will see or be in people's minds. So
trying to be that positive beacon. What do you guys think about the generic hey you're awesome today tweets that we see? I see a lot of that. A lot of people just like
I see a good chunk of them. You know what? I don't think I really think twice about it. Sometimes I'll say you too or something. You know, I mean, I think I would rather see that, even if it's copy pasta or not overly original. I would rather see that than cancel culture or complaining about a game or so and so did this. I would rather see people using that space for good, and maybe that tweet really helps somebody out in the morning. I don't know. You never know. Like I don't know.
My theory is that, like, for a lot of people that are seeing a lot of negativity on their Twitter feed, that just having that show up is kind of a nice break. Like I noticed really randomly, like I wasn't really all that active on Twitter, and then starting at the job that I'm at now, I would have a little downtime here and there, so I'd go on Twitter and I'd post here and there, and I noticed the posts that got the most engagement were those posts, but they're original. Like, I thought about something and I was like, oh, okay, that'll work. And it's like people just wanted a reprieve from all the that's on their feed.
All the teeth.
Yeah, all the teeth. They're like, oh, there's some flowers. Nice.
Right? Yeah, here's a puppy, right? Yeah.
But I 100% get, like, the other end of it too, because if, like, that's all you're seeing, it doesn't feel like content. Where Twitter is content, regardless of how you think. Putting posts up on Twitter is part of your content, right?
Well, and actually, I was just talking about this today. The Twitter app has, like, changed its, like, default algorithm so that your homepage is like
nuts.
Oh man, and I keep changing it, and it keeps changing back. So it goes by engagement. You see the most, like, tweets with the most engagement first, instead of, like, the latest tweets. And I didn't know it was like this for the longest time. I just found out the other day. And I was like, how many tweets have I been missing from people that I actually wanted to see? And I haven't engaged with any of them in however long, because I didn't even realize they were tweeting in the first place.
Yeah. You know what's crazy about that?
And how many people aren't seeing our tweets because we tweet later in the day, and so-and-so's already gotten 50 likes. I just don't agree with it. I don't like
what's
the way
crazy
they do that.
about that is Joe Rogan had Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, on his podcast. And I don't know whether it was just, there was a point where he wasn't CEO and then he got back to CEO. I don't remember what happened there, but maybe it's just because he's not really in touch with the actual goings on Twitter. But when he was talking about Twitter, he's like, the intent of Twitter is to be like a public forum, like a town square, where people can discuss things and, like, actually get their thoughts across. And I'm pretty sure they talked about how Facebook's algorithm just pushes engagement. And then this happens after that. And I'm like, but that's not what he said. So I don't know whether it's just the Twitter people running Twitter is not the CEO, which can be kind of true. Sometimes the CEOs aren't really in touch with.
I mean, at least you can change it, but it wasn't. I didn't know what was going on for the longest time. I literally just figured it out.
Stuff.
But I don't like that, because then I feel like I just see more of the negative, because that's what people are engaging with.
Yeah. And
then that's all I see on my feed, and I miss out on all these people, just kind of letting us know how their day's going, or I went here today with my kid or whatever. Like, I like seeing that stuff.
I'd be very curious to see, and I'm sure. I mean, these technology companies know, like, I have to believe they know what they're doing, right? Or at the very least, they're doing something right enough to become beacons or places for people to engage with each other, right?
Yeah.
So they're doing something right enough. But I would love to see almost like an ELO score, right? In Destiny. I would like to see an ELO for social platforms that not only specifies as engagement as the main criteria, but sentiment as well. And there's technology out there now that is smart enough to detect in the way that something is said based on known phrases and core, bits of, you know, speech that can detect either a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment.
Yep.
Right? And instead of, or at the very least, give us the ability to say, I want to see only positive sentiment, positive elo, like tweets. I want to see highly engaged on positive sentiment tweets as opposed to highly engaged on negative sentiment tweets. And what a difference that would actually make in the overall who gets pushed to the top.
Yeah.
What gets pushed to the top and who gets pushed to the top through that, as opposed to what is being pushed right now. And I think that would be that would show a drastic difference in the cancel culture that we see. And it would show a drastic difference in the motivation for why people post the things that they post, as opposed to being overly toxic because they know it'll get engagement versus being overly positive because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to see.
Agreed. I
Twitter.
think that's kind of
make it happen.
The one thing that I was, I guess, disappointed with this new like system is it just seems like they're just raising up the negative.
Yeah.
That's what I see. I mean, everybody's feed's going to be different depending on who they follow and what they're seeing and stuff. But for the most part, I think we probably follow a majority of the same people and we see the same type of stuff.
Well, another thing that Jack Dorsey was talking about is he was talking that like they were discussing having two different Twitters. One that's curated and one that's just free for all. Like no one gets banned, no one gets blocked, whatever. It's just completely open. And the slight problem with that is there is something like that. It's called Gab. And basically they say that as long as you don't say anything illegal, you're fine. We're not going to do anything. The problem is that, well, once you get banned on Twitter, you go to Gab. So basically Gab is filled with all the people who are allowed to say whatever they want, which is mostly the negative stuff that they get banned off Twitter for. So having it on the same platform on Twitter itself would probably alleviate some of that, which would allow you to...
Well, I mean, the people that are saying overly positive things and motivating things aren't getting banned.
No, exactly. Right? So they're not going to move off Twitter. They're going to stay on Twitter. So they're helping flesh Gab out. So, I mean, something like that would be really interesting to see if you could kind of curate your Twitter experience a little.
Yeah, I would like that a little bit. I mean, there's the mute and block and all that, but I don't know. I just feel like the algorithm right now is not where it should be. I'd like to see a lot more happy things.
Yeah.
Right. Wouldn't we all?
Yeah.
Let's do you want to talk about happy things for a minute?
Yeah. What's
no, I'm just wondering, Dad, what's jumping back into gaming here for a minute, what games and things that are coming out this year, gaming wise, are you looking forward to?
So obviously I think many of us are looking forward to Cyberpunk. I've actually been going back through. I've found a groove creating content around story games recently. I've been playing a lot of God of War, Spider-Man. I'm going to go back and play Detroit Become Human leading into Cyberpunk since they're both similarly. So I've been playing going back and playing a lot of those story-based games that provide just a really solid core experience. And I'm actually diving into League of Legends.
Nice.
Recently, something that I've never played before. I actually never played a MOBA before. Nice. And so I've been really excited. Like League is just so different, but I didn't realize how much of my core community loves League of Legends and plays a lot of League of Legends. Like I had 10 friend requests in League. Like I logged in and within minutes had 10 friend requests from people logging into their League accounts. Awesome. And I was like, oh my gosh, what did I just stumble upon? Because like one of my mods, Chef Calistia, he's been around the community for a very long time, very good friend of mine. I roomed with him at South.
Okay, gotcha.
And he baited me because he brought his laptop.
Oh no.
And had League of Legends sitting on the flipping desktop, and he knew that I would ask what that was.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so I downloaded it the other day. So I've been playing a lot of League. I'm looking forward to diversifying and doing more content out of my comfort zone.
Yep.
RTS. I'm looking at some RTS games right now. I'm looking at some RPG games right now. Wolfson just came on my radar recently. It's basically like the PvE version of League of Legends.
Okay, gotcha.
And so Excellion was just playing it, and it looks really interesting. So there's a few different games on my radar. Cyberpunk's the big AAA one, and then shoot, I just what was the other one that's coming out in September that got moved? Marvel Avengers.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Avengers and Cyberpunk both come out in September, so it's going to be a big September. Leading up to that, there's a small like indie. It's called Dungeon Defenders.
I saw something about that today, actually, or yesterday.
Yep. So Dungeon Defenders is actually something that is on my radar. That's interesting. Again, I'm shifting away from. I've always been an FPS guy. Yeah. I've always been like a shooter, or that's kind of been my core gaming. When I first started really gaming, it was America's Army was the game that I kind of started with. And then moved on to COD and Battlefield, and I've had my years of doing that. But now that I'm in content creation, I'm like, I want more. I want different. Right.
That's where I'm at. Yeah.
Yep.
That's where I'm at.
So I'm exploring different genres that I've never played, and it's made for really cool interactions recently, because there are so many, like for League, there's so much to learn, and there's so many experienced players that all want to give their input.
Oh, yep.
Which sometimes is really annoying, guys. Just leave me alone and let me learn.
Yep.
But it's cool to see. It's cool to see some of these different types of games draw out different experiences that I wasn't expecting.
Yep.
And so I'm looking very hard at like different indie games, looking at a lot of just like RPGs and things that I wouldn't have otherwise taken a second glance at, and saying, hey, why don't we give it a shot and see if it's something we enjoy. So yeah, I don't know if I'd have anything really specific on my radar other than the few that I named. But yeah, I'm looking forward to just doing different content and doing different types of things and seeing where that takes the community.
100%.
That's cool. I think we've found because this is our first extended period of time where we've been streaming together exclusively.
Yeah, because usually I have like my daytime where I would do like single player story games and that kind of stuff. So like I had that before that was kind of mixed in with like Destiny and like our FPS and
when
stuff.
We were both working, it was less time streaming. So playing Destiny it made sense. It was fine. But I think we are kind of both in that situation, which makes it very troublesome, like we were talking about, because we can't just throw on a single player story game. It just doesn't work. And I think that if we were in the future, if this is ever possible for us to both actually be full-time, I think we would have to split up days, and we would have like our solo days where we can play solo streams with like story games and single player games and stuff like that. Because
what if you experienced single player together and alternated levels of things?
We actually tried to play, what was it, Horizon Zero Dawn side by side on two PS4 side by side. And it was just weird. It's weird because there's like this weird disconnect where like we're not at the same part in the story, and
that like, makes sense.
It was just strange. We have also like for example for like horror games, 99% of them aren't co-op. Yeah. So we usually like one of us plays, one of us watches, and then we like swap back and forth. So we have done that. it's just not the same experience when you're like diving into a story.
Sure.
It's really hard to kind of make that connection when you play and then you like pass it off and like you're like, oh
yeah.
like,
But I want to be. I'm gonna. Well,
I
you
think
guys are
that's the
both.
thing.
You guys are both
Yeah.
hardcore gamers.
That's what I was
Like,
just gonna say.
You guys are very.
We're both
like-
gamers, and we both want to
Yeah.
play. So when we're
Yes,
watching the other
I don't want to
person
be
play,
sitting there
we can,
watching you play the game.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
I do think that there is a Breath of the Wild sequel coming. I think sometime this year or early next
I
year.
think it's this year.
It's either like the end of this year or like
That'll be
spring 2021. But I finally got around to playing Breath of the Wild last year, and it like I think for me that was the first, I guess, like story game, which it wasn't even really a full on story.
It was like
game.
an open world.
It's like open world
semi-story driven.
Yeah, but that really for me was like, whoa. Like I want to do this more often.
You were watching that video the other day of all these games that are taking inspiration from Breath of the Wild and creating that kind of similar feel, and those looked really cool.
They did look really cool. I watched it was like a video on like games coming out in 2020, and I like wrote down some of the ones that I was interested in based off what I saw. And Everwild and
That's
Gods and Monsters, those were two that took inspiration directly from Zelda. Breath of the Wild, and it was like similar art style, like open world, like looked really, really, I don't know, like that art style for Zelda, Breath of the Wild was just like, it was so calming to look at, and you just want to like explore and walk around and find things. And I got lost in that game. Pete would come home from work and I'd be like, oh fuck,
I don't want to stop playing.
More Zelda. Go
Wait,
away.
you mean I have
was
to
a single
stop
player
right
game
now?
that was a single player game that I actually sit there and watch you play, because it was fun to watch too, and like you'd hand it over and make me do a shrine, and I'd throw all the weapons into the lava and lose your torches and stuff.
Yeah, I think right now that's what I'm craving, is what Zelda gave me and what some of these single player games have given me, which is like just like I can't wait to sit back down and play again. And I haven't felt that way about a game in a while. And that ties right back into Burnout and stuff, which we mentioned earlier. So I'm hoping Darksiders tomorrow is like a lot of fun, and it looks really cool.
It looks really cool,
and it's gonna be totally different from anything we've done. We played Overwatch on Monday, which I know is a really old game, but we haven't really played much of it before.
I think we're starting to see a surge of people looking for that nostalgia again.
Yes.
Yeah.
So playing old games is kind of I'm finding a good way to fill, right? Like League of Legends is 10 years old or something, 11 years old.
But it's new to you, right?
It's new to me, right? So people are getting my experience, like my new experience.
Yes.
They're living through you.
They're remembering what it was like
100%.
to be new, and they're remembering what it was like. And like, again, God of War has been a really good experience because it's been out for a year.
Yep.
And people are like, oh, I remember this fight. This was the worst. And like all of a sudden you've got a dialogue going that you wouldn't have gotten if you played it day one.
Yeah.
Because everyone was playing it day one. So like I'm finding that delaying some of these epic story games, or even going back and like I want to do a master playthrough on Star Wars. And I know that's like newer, but it's still been 6 months now since Jedi Fallen Order came out, and I 100%ed that game on Jedi Master, not Grandmaster, but Jedi Master, and I loved that experience. Is what actually got me excited about Star Wars. I was not a Star Wars fan before I played that game, and I can now say that I'm a I watched all 9 movies in succession, and
I saw a lot of people do that after that game came out. They're like, oh, okay, I'm actually gonna watch all
the gameplay.
These.
Looks pretty cool, and I'm not a Star Wars fan really either.
I think you'd probably enjoy it. I think you'd enjoy it.
Have you not played through it?
No.
Oh my god! You like anything that's like Dark Souls-esque? Anything that's?
I've never really played anything like that before.
We played. What did we play? We played one thing. I don't remember. It'll come
Star Wars was my first experience with that type of gameplay, with the hit and roll, the hit and roll, the parry, that idea.
Okay, so
and I fell in love.
The closest thing I think that I've played to anything like that.
I fell in love with
yeah.
Fallen Order.
Yeah.
And
it looked
that
really cool. I did watch some people play it.
I think you'd really like it because there's puzzles in it too, and
yeah, I love puzzles. That's like I love figuring things out. We've done.
Did you play God of
Unravel
War?
and Unravel 2? No, I haven't. No, it got okay. Wait.
Oh my gosh, you are about to open up a whole new world. You are literally, oh my gosh.
Okay, I'll write it down.
Play one of those 2 games. Like God of War was on sale at Black Friday for like $20 or $10, something stupid cheap. I bought God of War and Spider-Man both.
Spider-Man, I've actually heard really good things about as well.
Oh my gosh, I 100%ed that game as well. That's how much those games sucked me in, and I've never played those types of games before. I was an FPS guy. I was a Destiny guy. I was a shooter guy, a COD guy. And it opened up a whole different side of content for me that had I not gotten a key for Fallen Order, I probably would be in a very different position content creation wise than I am right now. Pick up the game, play it. You will not regret. Even don't play it on Jedi Master if you don't want to challenge, right? And you just want to enjoy the story. But I went into it and I was like, I'm not going to play it on Grandmaster because I've never played this type of game before. But Jedi Master I found gave me enough challenge, and there were definitely frustrating moments in it, but they gave me enough challenge that it made for really good content, and it made for that moment when you finally beat that boss after 45 minutes of death after death after death after death. When you finally beat it, the community rallies in a way that they won't rally like that for even just for Destiny wins. They're not gonna rally like that. You guys are looking around like something just happened.
Yeah, our sub alert just went off.
I don't know what just happened.
So, because our bot's open and it goes through the bot.
I don't know if you noticed this. Do you notice that sub alerts, this is a total different topic, but sub alerts go through to your stream by themselves and then people resub later?
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's strange.
It's a little broken right now.
I think really that was broken. An auto renew of something.
It's really 50. It's 50-50. It's literally 50-50 whether a sub will come through. And my assumption now is if they hadn't said anything in chat beforehand or immediately right after, then that's an auto. And then sure enough, 2-3 hours later, they'll come in and do the exact same renewal and be like, hey, what's up? I'm like,
we celebrated that already. I ran the hero. I already know what you're talking about. See, and I was assuming if it popped, they popped it.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was how I've been operating this whole time. I hit it as soon as someone pops it. I'm celebrating it. So
that's what we did the first 5 or 6 times because we were afterwards.
And then I straight out just asked them. I was like, "Were you here 4 hours ago?
Were you here yesterday?"
When that popped up,
and they were like, "No." And then I asked a few people, and they were like, "No." And I'm like, "Okay, I don't know what's happening, but."
Interesting.
Anyways, apologies. That's probably gonna be picked up.
You're fine. It was just funny because I both watched you go space mode on me, and you looked off, and you both looked off. I could tell you were looking off screen. I was like, "Is the cops coming, or what's going on? Something's going on outside of this purview."
Yeah,
that's
just
awesome.
Mixer things.
Yep.
Yeah, just Mixer things.
Mixer things. It doesn't even show on stream label, so I don't know. It was a ghost. It's fine.
We had one earlier today too, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, do you got any other things?
No.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
I agree.
I would keep talking, but I know that like your wife's probably waiting for you. You agreed on an hour. We're almost at 2.
At this point, she's probably sleeping. So
oh, that's fair.
But yeah, I mean, we're going on almost an hour and a half on the podcast.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Didn't feel like that on it. It never does.
No, it always goes so much faster.
That's the one thing I like. I kind of got from listening because I never really listened to podcasts much at first, and then I started listening to Joe Rogan's podcast all the time because I was driving a lot for my job, and then it was like every other podcast you'd be like, oh well, I should wrap it up, we just did 3 hours, and the guest is like, what?
Yeah,
3
right.
hours? What do you mean? It's like, yeah, it's like a time capsule in here. Time moves slower.
It's literally the same thing at cons. So like you get in a really good conversation with someone, and you never realize until it's 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, oh wait, what time are we going to the con again? Yeah, about that.
I guess we're gonna be a little late.
Yeah,
it's good though because it's not very often that we get to, I guess, discuss with other content creators. We don't really know many in person that live around us.
For sure.
And everybody's always so busy. So like outside of conventions, this is kind of it. So I enjoy it.
Definitely. It's a good excuse to chat with people. That's
absolutely.
For sure. So where can people find you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So primary spot is going to be mixer.com/DadGotGame. I stream every day, Monday through Saturday, during most of the day, 9 to 4:30. Other than that, it's on socials. It's DadGotGame TV everywhere. So Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, what? YouTube, Facebook. I still have no idea what to do on that platform. I'm like, it literally just looks like either you have to be like dancing to some hip hop music, or I don't even know, like, or you need to be or you need to be doing the outrage thing and literally just yelling about something. As long as you're yelling about something, apparently you get up. What, I don't even know what it is. Liked, clicked, upvoted. I don't know. I don't get that platform. I'm too old for this.
A few weeks ago, somebody was like, everybody was talking about Byte.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I snagged BxPerience on it, but I haven't even opened the app. I don't even know what it is.
I haven't even opened it yet.
I was like, oh yeah, I'll snag our thing just in case.
From what I understand, it's like Vine, but it's like Vine, which TikTok is also like, but it's 6 seconds. It's very limited. Only 6 seconds.
6 seconds? How can you do anything in 6 seconds?
It's surprising how much you can pack into 6 seconds nowadays, especially with like smash cuts when you just kind of cut it all together.
Oh my gosh!
I talked for almost 2 hours, and it felt like 30 minutes. So I don't know what 6 seconds would feel like.
Forever.
Yeah, I don't know. And what's weird too is like I'll see videos on Reddit or whatever, and then it'll be what I normally just see as a normal video clip or like a Twitter clip or something, and then it'll be on TikTok. So I don't know, because when I first heard of TikTok, it was all music. It was all oriented towards music, and then now it's not. I don't know what it is now.
Oh, people just make up whatever they want.
I suppose,
yeah. I have no idea. I actually grabbed DadGotGame on Byte. I deviated. I opened it, but I don't know what, like, I don't know what I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at someone in a bathroom and next to a garbage can, and it says your Byte is trash. So
welcome to Byte.
Okay, welcome to Byte, where literally like outrage culture is here already. Awesome. Great.
All right. Well, I'll wrap it up. It was a fantastic experience hanging out and chilling and talking, and we'll definitely do it again.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
If you want more of us, you can find everything BXP at babexpete.com, including links to all of our socials, YouTube, merch, and our discount codes for Into the AM clothing and Advanced GG energy drinks.
Our main focus is our live stream at mixer.com/BabeXPete, where we live stream video games and foster an amazing community. Peace.